Hi everyone, this is Sabine from Art2Ride, and I'm going to give you guys an update on my other horse, Santer. He is my now 20-year-old Dutch warm blood, and I actually got him from someone. He came on my path, and well, he came with me, and we started him over about 2 years ago. And I thought he was fine and not as bad as Pura was, but it turned out that he had quite some problems with his pelvis and his eye area, which was really stiff and hard, and mostly he was really stuck behind the ears. Well, if you look good in some shots, you can see a little bump on the second and third vertebrae. Well, that's been a problem area. He was a horse that used to crawl quite behind the bit, and in stretch, that's something you still see. Here I'm riding with my old saddle that I got him rid of. After watching some footage back, I was like, yeah, he's not getting exactly where I want him. The saddle made me very restless, made my legs very restless. It was uncomfortable for the both of us, so felt better to get rid of it. During this session, this is actually the end of a session where I've been working on playing a little bit with the working position and the stretch. And he finds the working position not that hard, but he finds it really hard to go back from working position to the stretch and then really get his nose out, which I find comes also a lot from my very restless hands in this video. But he is showing quite not too bad pieces. He's too high in his frame up here, and you see that he's having a hard time, but he gets really hard in my hand, so sometimes I just wait for him to get soft into my hand before I'm letting him go. Because if I'm letting him go towards the stretch there, he just gets behind a bit and the stretch is fairly pointless. So I want him to come to my hand first before I'm going to start giving him more rein and get soft on him again. And you can see that now he stretches down, is really moving towards the contact and lengthen his strides. And when I pick him up only a little bit, he's really starting to push out. And that's for him, who used to walk with his nose in his chest, most likely to avoid the contact, quite good already. I would like to see him getting a little bit deeper down his stretch here, but as I mentioned, the saddle was definitely a problem back then, but he was also still very stiff in his mouth and behind the ears. So I don't dislike what I'm seeing here, actually. I find when I see this that I could start bringing him back up again in my training now, which I haven't, and I will explain in a minute why I haven't. If it were from my restless hands becoming a little bit calmer here, I think he's moving not so badly actually in the working position. He gets too high sometimes, but when he's actually in the working position, I find he's quite okay. This footage was actually shot in October, so quite some time ago already, but I wanted to have some, like, it's good to hear when he really came down to that point and my hands messed it up. And that's actually where I want him to go right from the beginning. And with this saddle, it took me about 30 minutes to get him from struggling with my hand and the saddle towards actually a really nice stretch. So more or less the first 20 minutes I was fighting with him, and I found that very annoying. For once, because I knew that he could do better, so there was a reason behind it. And second of all, I don't want to fight with this horse. I want him to be comfortable. So if there's something up, I want to change it. Turned out it was the saddle. Throughout this little piece, you see both of us getting a little bit more calmer here. I'm getting a little bit softer with my hands, and he starts to find his position and rhythm in a little bit more working position way better. Because actually, little bit more with his nose up, but there is where I want him to be. Well, this took me already 5 minutes, and in this whole session about 20 minutes to get there. But when he starts to get here, I really like how he softens up and looks for the contact and stays soft in my hands. And yeah, here I don't mind him so much, but the struggle to get there was very annoying, and for me not worth it. Actually, for someone who is a little bit familiar with Dutch thoroughbreds, he's offspring from Ferro. And people that know Ferros know that that's quite similar to, can be quite similar to a Jazz, especially Jazz mare. The ones who have dealt with them knows exactly what I mean. Quite high-blooded and can get really tense and nervous, but seeing his age, he is not so bad, I find. But when you go ride him outside in the forest, he can get scared sometimes of nothing, and he's easier if there's another horse around, etc. But I find this a very nice horse to work with. He's really sweet. He's really kind, really clear about what he wants and what he doesn't want. That as well. But yeah, I really enjoy working with this horse. What makes him really interesting for me is because he's a really different horse to ride compared to Pura, because Pura is, well, way more sensitive, way more forward focused, although she's getting a little bit lazy right now, but she's way more, it's really easy to push her over the edge of too much. And she's really soft in the hand. It's amazing how that horse feels right now, and he is still really hard in his mouth sometimes. So I think over time, when he's completely loose behind his ears and comfortable there, he will get better. But for now, here especially, he was really hard to steer even. So yeah, that's about this part. Well, this is the footage of December that I actually also made for the yearly submission. So I had a choice, but my camera woman was a little bit of a rush. So we got some footage of him, but eventually I chose to do the submission with Puro work. So here I'm going to show you guys a little bit more of the warming up. So there's a lot of wall work in here. And so as you can see here, there's not much of a struggle. He's getting towards my hand quite nicely. But I'm riding with a bareback pet, and not everyone would encourage that. But he seems to be moving really well underneath this, and every time I find him hard and annoying under saddle, I try riding him with a bareback pet, and he seems to be moving way better and feeling way better while working. I had the osteopath out last week to check up on him, because I've been riding with the bareback pet for about a month and a half already in this video, actually. So about 2.5 months now. And I wanted to be sure that this was not causing him to tense up on his back, which it doesn't. She felt that it's been quite some time that she saw a horse this supple in his back, so that's really good. I'm really happy with that. But also, the only part that was really stuck with him was behind the ears again. So she loosened that up. I've been doing some lunge work with him now, and he seems already quite a little bit softer, so I'm really waiting to start doing some mounted work again with him somewhere this week. But yeah, I'm riding with a bareback pet, and as long I need time to save money actually to see if I can buy something new, or hope that my company, I can pay myself out some money so I can buy that. Very much wanted Peter Horobin saddle, but for now it does not look that way just yet. So yes, we're doing some leg yielding. I'm trying to get him to push his nose towards my hands. My hands are a little bit less restless than what you saw in the previous part of the video. I'm trying to push him forward. This is way more lazy horse than what I'm used to with Pura. But he's moving way more towards the contact, and the deeper he stretches, the slower he seems to get. At least it feels to me that way. So I'm trying to push him to as much of active movement as much as I can. Here I'm trying to yield, and he's picking that up quite nicely. He's really stiff in his hind legs, and we suspect that he has some arthritis in his right hock. He used to drag that leg with him, so for quite a lot of time when I've been working him, I saw this dragging the marks in the arena, but they have become way and way less, and I was surprised about that. I didn't expect that. So I'm trying to keep my hands thinking as much forward as possible. What I really like seeing is the bounciness of his hind end. You can really see his ass coming up and down. You see that wave coming up, and although he feels really slow to me, when every time I see the footage, I'm like, oh, he's moving actually not that bad. I'm still having troubles figuring out which is actually his hard side, because on the left hand side he finds it harder to stretch, so I always thought that the bending to the left was his bigger problem. But when it comes to canter work, for example, on the right hand side he always gets into canter while cross cantering. Am I saying contra? So the wrong canter. I am having that under control now, so I know when he does it, and it's easier for me to correct him or to make sure that he gets into the right canter. But he did that quite a lot. Yielding to on the left hand side, he always feels a little bit more like he needs some oil in his joints. While on the right hand side he always seems to fall over his shoulder quite a lot. So I've felt it really hard to see which was his harder side. On the left hand side, well, leg yielding, shoulder ins, he comes up a little bit more. He's always a little bit more resistant on this side, while on the right hand side he seems to be finding it quite a bit easier. On both sides though, I'm having trouble getting him to actually put the shoulder in on my outside rein. This horse has not really learned properly how to respond to that outside rein, and how a little bit push on that outside actually means to bring the shoulder inward. And for me as a reiner, or ex-reiner I have to say, but for me as an old Western rider who used to ride their horses on one hand, this is so annoying. But yeah, he's getting there slowly. And he has such a pretty face. I'm so in love with his head, because you can look at him and he can look at you like, I'm the sweetest boy ever. It's really cute. He's been having troubles breathing for quite some time, so we've put him on herbs from October on, same as with Pura, and some purifiers for his lungs, and he seems to have improved quite a bit actually on that. I found him breathing way better during work, not as heavy, and like he's opened up a little bit. But he actually had an attack, I would say, right about October, that my co-rider took him off the field, and he was coughing all the time, and something was clearly stuck, and all this fluids coming out of his mouth and nose, like, well, something was clearly bothering him, and ever since he also improved, so I don't know what was really wrong with him, but he's doing way better than that right now. Here in shoulder in on the right hand side, and here you can already see that when I ask for it, he's already starts to come way more towards my hand, and that he's trying to stretch while doing this. I've actually picked up working shoulders a little bit more in hand as well, so I can help him without my weight to move his hind leg a little bit more under his body while stretching. I've also started a Piaf, and I'm doing that quite consequently after every session. And I had my first real active jumpy Piaf steps about 3 days ago or so. So hopefully I can start showing you guys some footage of that as well very soon. We started this actually at the clinic in August with Will, and he's been improving quite a lot. Same as with Pura, actually. Because of her, I didn't ask it for about 2 months or 3 months, and also she is starting to make some progress there. I'm not too pushy because, well, I'm quite careful with them. I don't want to overdo it, but yeah, they seem to pick it up quite well. Well, a little treat after hard work, also important. I find my pad and my shirt so matching. I really like it. I have to be a girly girl sometimes, you know. Well, let's fix my clothes because it's going to get bumpy. This horse is not comfortable in the trot. In a sitting trot, it's hilarious. It's impossible. But yeah, with a bareback pad, I don't really have much of a choice. So it will take us, and mostly me, a few strides to find my comfort, and for him as well. But let's see how I do this. Sure, we're going to start somewhere soon. Well, here we're starting to get some rhythm. Well, actually the strides compared to the first part of this video is already quite similar to what I'm seeing here. So where back then in October, it took me about a 30-minute workout to get to these kind of strides, I'm already getting it right now. So that's quite a massive improvement. I'm not really doing working position here unless he brings his head up himself, but I want him to start pushing towards a stretch mostly. I'm keeping him a little bit higher here because on this side in the yielding, he falls over his shoulder quite a lot the first time. So I'd rather having him a little bit higher in the frame. But I can push his left hind leg underneath his body because I have him in both reins. Then when I give him too much space, I put my left leg and he just falls over the shoulder and I'm losing all the space I have to do a few yields. And he will keep on doing that. So I might as well just keep him a little bit together and actually start asking for that hind leg to step under because like here, I'm profiting from it. While here he's stretching way more and he really starts to come towards the contact. And well, actually I find my hands here while I'm riding a bareback pad quite a lot more soft and silent compared to the previous video. I was really restless with my hands and I find that way less here. Yes, his nose could be out a little bit more. You can say that's my hands' fault because they're still more restless here than when I would be in the saddle, you'd say. But I also think it just has to do with his strength and his trust in actually being able to push his nose out. So, well, here's already slightly a little bit better, but there you go. Well, it's getting there. It's not as good as I would like still, because obviously I would like to see him pushing his nose out a little bit more, but he's still really hard to steer, and I'd have to be quite clear whenever I ask for him to change direction. The first thing he does when I pick up the rein is bring his head up. So I have to find the contact, then push him, then steer him. It's still quite a thing. I'm hoping that will improve quite soon because it's really tiring and it's taking my focus away from other things that I want to pay attention to. So, but yeah, overall, this is the picture what he looks like right now and what our training looks like right now. We are not doing any working position right now. One reason is that I've been super busy and I wanted to do a workout without pushing myself too much or pushing him too much. But when I saw the last video of the previous part of this one, and when I see him here, I'm like, well, I could start asking for some working position here with the bareback pad as well, because he seems to be just fine carrying me and starting to work towards the bit, towards my hand, and especially with the osteopath coming out, and if I saw the difference between lunging 3 days before and lunging now, I already see a massive difference. It's really opening up his throat quite a lot more, and so I feel that when I'm going to start back, like for 2 weeks, keep on stretching and really pushing his nose out. After that, it's time that I'm going to start bringing him back up because I feel that he's physically capable of doing that. I just want him to push his nose out. But as many of us know, it's quite. It takes a lot of time for a horse that's been quite broken in the neck to make him better, to fix him. So, and we are in March at 2 years, in which actually for a year and a half now, pretty much, I've been doing most of the work myself. Before that was still mostly other people working him, like co-riders that came with me in the previous owners, because it was still the same barn, and I moved. Then I started doing all the work myself, and well, so a year and a half. So I'm sure in about 6 months he will already look quite a lot different. Canter work actually loosens him up quite a lot. So I try to do also because he needs to get some stamina, because as he gets tired and he still has quite a fat belly. So I do some Canter work, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter, really depends on how he feels. And sometimes he's really active, wants to go, sometimes like, do I really have to? So the Canter work really depends on how he's doing, but I try to get him towards the bit. He can be a little bit more active here, so I could push him for a little bit more activity there. Like, come on. But overall, this is not too bad of a Canter. The transition, wow. Actually, the transitions from Canter back to trot, when you ride him, they feel horrible. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, that was not even that bad. Really funny. Well, he finds circles really hard, and actually for him, an arena that would be slightly a little bit wider would be better for him, more comfortable. This round is a little bit out of his comfort zone, but well, eventually he needs to start moving in this anyway. So I try more and more to push him to get better in corners and rounds and stepping under. I think, no, wrong Canter. There we go. And he knows it, so when I take him back, you're already close to the right Canter. I don't really have to do anything for it. Here he could push his nose out a little bit more, but here he just crawls behind a bit a little bit more. So I think he's struggling on this side a little bit more than on the other side. But he's getting there. He's trying to bring himself to that point of relaxation, and I try to keep him as soft there as possible, so the little reiner comes out in me. Sometimes I ride him on one hand just to let him go, but when he comes up, I'm asking him to come down again towards the contact, but when he's there, I want to let go of him so that he knows that there is nice, that's good, but that also doesn't really seem to come across, so I stopped doing that. But it's a really good exercise actually to get him on my outside rein and steer there. So yeah, there's some ups and downs on doing that. I do that for 3 strides and then pick him up on 2 reins again, so it's not that I'm constantly doing that. I just trying a few things to see what comes across. I think this is about the end of this workout, and then I start puffing how much I had to work, and my dearest filmer had to leave to go to her next thing. Yeah, this is about it.